Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to today's Caffeine for the Soul. I've been talking this week about confidence. And while confidence is something that we experience in the present, we tend to experience more or less of it when we're thinking about the future. And so today I wanted to talk a little bit about predicting the future, because basically how confident we feel as we look to the future is based on our prediction of that future. If we think we're going to handle it well, we tend to feel pretty confident, and if we make up that we're going to handle it badly, we tend to worry about it. And how do we make the future up more accurately? Right? You've probably heard the expression, the best way to predict the future is to create it, which sounds really cool and is kind of accurate. But that's kind of like saying the best way to predict the future is not to bother. And that's kind of what I wanted to explore with you today. And this started for me. I really started seeing this. I heard one of my mentors, Keith Blevins, say the future is an incomplete equation because you can never really take into account what thinking will come to you in the moment. So here's how I made sense of that. So most people think of the future as a logical extension of the past and present. So if we were going to write it like a formula, like an equation, it would go past experience plus current circumstances equals probable future. So in other words, we look to our memory and imagination to create a baseline of what we think will happen. And then we either dread the horror or crave the thrill of whatever we convince ourselves is going to come to pass. But the missing piece, the X factor of what thinking occurs to you in the moment, is what creates both the heaven and hell of our imagined future and the actual experience of that future when it comes to pass. So the actual formula would be a little bit more like this. Past experience, memory, in other words, thought, plus current circumstances, which is perception, in other words, thought, plus X, which is thinking in the moment, in other words, thought, equals my prediction of the future. In other words, thought. In other words, every element of our imagined future is made of the same thing, thought. It's a product of thinking that by and large comes to us unbidden and is way more arbitrary than we think. Which is why the more we think about a future event, the more one of two things happens. Either we seesaw between hope and fear, or we lock ourselves into an expectation, a fixed prediction of this is what's going to happen, and this is how I will react to it, and it will be good or bad, and this is how I will experience it. And then we try to convince everyone around us that we're right, or try and get them to convince us that we're wrong, and we haven't even gotten to the good bit yet. When the future actually arrives, our experience of it will be made up, as all our experience is, of the sum total of, you with me yet? The sum total of whatever thinking comes to us in the moment. And so there's no way to accurately predict what you're going to be thinking about in a future moment. You can't predict what you're going to be thinking about 5 minutes from now. And because of that, there's no way to accurately predict the future. Now, that may seem pedantic, that may seem obvious, but there's a couple of implications to it which to my mind are just extremely good news about life. And the first is about worry. And it's that worry is a freestanding illusion. So I work with clients, I work as a coach, and in my experience of 26 years of working with clients, people who chronically worry genuinely believe that the act of repeatedly thinking scary, unsettling thoughts about the future will in some way keep them safe, spur them into action, or both. Now, the reality of worry is different. The reality of worry is it obscures our natural intelligence, it overrides our common sense, and over time it can make us physically sick. When it seems like our worries are based on reality, in other words, an accurate prediction of a likely future, that might still seem worth it. Yeah, at least I'm predicting the future. But if you see that worry is a freestanding illusion, it's unconnected in any way to what's actually going to happen in the future. It is neither predictive nor preventative. It just gets easier to let go of it when it comes up, and you might still worry from time to time. But you're less and less inclined to elevate the discomfort of that worry, of that uninvited insecure thinking to the role of protector of the faithful or creator of the universe. Now, the other really cool implication of seeing that there's no way to accurately predict the future, because there's no way to predict what you'll be thinking in the future and what will come to you in thought in the future, is that solutions and possibilities and a whole new world are never more than one thought away. Because you can never know what's going to occur to you in the moment, you can only imagine a future based on your current thinking. And because you know that the deeper intelligence of the mind is responsive to the moment, in other words, your best ideas come up unbidden in the moment. They come out of the situation that you're in. It's quite likely that something helpful or useful or insightful is going to occur to you when you need it most. In other words, you tend to know what to do when you need to know what to do and not before. Now, for me, I've seen that the more I rely on that capacity of the mind, the more reliable it is. The more I rely on knowing that something will come to me in the moment, the more it does. And look, I still worry. I still worry more than I would like. I still fall for it. I fall for the freestanding illusion of worry. I fall for the future my imagination likes to make up. I'm like when I go to horror movies, I like put my hand in front of my face and I kind of peek through my fingers because I feel a little bit safer, but I don't want to miss the movie. But the truth is, I'm also far more willing to go forward. I'm far more willing to just step into the dark of the unknown, knowing that the light of my understanding is going to illuminate the next step, if and when there's a next step to be taken. So because my confidence and security doesn't come from outside, it doesn't come from posturing, it doesn't come from preparation, it comes from physics. It comes from my understanding of the responsive intelligence of the mind. I'm way less thrown by sudden shifts in circumstance, and even sudden shifts in my thinking. And because of that, I don't even have to hide from my own fears because, and this is a bit of a metaphor, which won't surprise you, but the only thing that can kill a shadow like fear is more light. So your kind of homework for today is to, because I get this one could have been a little complex, is to listen to it again and see how simple you can make it. See if you can simplify it right down to its most fundamental element, which is A, we spend a lot of time trying to predict the future, and B, we can never accurately predict that future because the most significant part of our experience is made of thought, and we just don't know what we're going to be thinking in the future. And when we have a future that we're predicting that's going to go badly, what we can't see is what's going to come to us to save the day in the moment. Have fun, learn heaps, and happy exploring. I'll talk to you tomorrow.